We human beings are a lonely kind. Of all life in our world, we stand out as the only species to definitively separate itself from the old arena of nature. The experience of being a person is radically different from all other beings, and not only that, but it's exclusive to us and those like us. At time of recording, Earth is the only planet we know to certainly and irrefutably harbor life. This life first emerged in the form of simple, self-replicating units forming seemingly at random from the substances of submarine chimneys spewing out materials from deep below the sea floor. This likely happened around a billion years after the Earth's formation, when it swirled with its many siblings around a young sun, submerged in clouds of gas and dust, perhaps unusually rich with heavy elements, likely the remnants of a collision between ancient neutron stars. And all of this in a universe where somehow every constant was just right, every force was perfectly balanced in order for us to be here. For all we know, it could have gone one of a trillion ways, none of which would allow our existence. And yet, you exist. Everyone does. So many things that went right, so many events from a chaotic reality that set us apart from everything else, so many that you can't help but think that perhaps this happened for a reason. Maybe we are special. Maybe you're special. Maybe this was meant to happen. Well, let me just burst your bubble there. So yeah, if you've lived here long enough, you may have noticed that practically everything about us and our world is unique. So unique in fact that if we were to create a new, finite universe, the probability that life and the Earth would exist as they do on ours would be astronomically low. Upon first inspection, this seems to leave us with two options. Option 1, not only humanity, but the Earth, and our solar system, and a universe with constants that allow life really did appear through chance alone. Or Option 2, our existence is not random and there must be something behind it, a special reason, perhaps. Think of it as rolling a die with a million sides. If you think of a number between 1 and a million, the chance that you would get that specific number would be, well, 1 in a million. So if you got it, you're either extremely lucky, or the die was rigged in your favor. Considering the odds, the latter option does sound much more reasonable, much more probable, and a lot of people would gladly agree and leave it at that. However, in my opinion, it seems like a bit of a fallacy, and I'll explain why. Let's take a moment to think about what makes us humans special. For one, we appear to be smarter and more capable than every other species on Earth at lots of stuff. And yes, this sounds pretty arrogant, but I haven't heard about any dolphin civilizations that fight each other and cooperate for the sake of abstract ideas, however cool that may be. Space exists, and space is big. If you don't agree with me on that, then you're free to click off this video because it will not change your mind. Anyway, moving on. Considering that our universe not only hosts a great variety of environments, but is huge beyond anyone's comprehension, the existence of intelligent life, besides ours of course, is extremely likely. And the thing about aliens is that they're also unique. They inhabit planets with very specific conditions, and usually, probably, inhabit systems with stable orbits, rich with heavy elements necessary for life. Let's call the species that lives over here the orbs, for no particular reason. So now we have an issue. Sure, both humans and orbs are unique, at least compared to everything in their surroundings, but only one can be truly special. Okay, let me clarify. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that some extra-physical entity did create the universe.
Oh, me. Can I be the extra physical entity?
Oh, okay. Suppose that Fanti created the universe and purposefully gave one of these species a special purpose, a mission, a reason to exist, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is or which species it was given to. The question here is, what would make this entity choose one instead of the other when they are both equally unique? It doesn't really make much sense, does it? At best it would just be a random choice, but in that case the choice wouldn't exactly be on purpose. It would just be the product of pure chance again, not a rational decision. Can't both of them be chosen by the entity? Technically yes, but if both of them are chosen, then it's as good as both of them being equal, since none receives any special treatment over the other. Neither is special. If you'd like to take our time to grind your gears a little and think about this, then go ahead. But the conclusion here is that you can't really deduce being special from having some unique property, because the bigger the sample size, the likelier it is that there is something more or less as unique. And so, any actual reason for you to have received special treatment fades into contradiction. This is even more true if the sample size is infinite, which our universe may or may not be as far as we know. In an infinite universe, there is an infinite number of planets and an infinite number of intelligent species to choose from. Not only that, but there is an infinite number of copies of the same planets with the exact same species on them. Which one of the clones is special among all the others, and why? And this could very much still apply if our universe's size is finite, because the sample size may have a spatial limit, but it does not, however, have a temporal limit. Time just goes on, indefinitely, forever. And with an infinite sample size, everything is certain. Even if we are currently alone in the entire universe, observable or not, there will come a moment within infinite time, long after everything has pretty much ceased to exist, when a new Big Bang ends up spontaneously generating a new universe. Are the physics too janky for life? No problem. Simply wait again and again and again until a fertile universe inevitably springs up with many life forms, intelligent included. And the best part is that there are practically infinitely many possibilities for how this could be arranged. We made the mistake of throwing a million-sided die with a specific number in mind, when in reality, time is throwing the same Googleplex-sided die repeatedly forever. And with enough tries, the number that we're thinking of will eventually be facing up. And that, my friends, brings us to my final point. Our universe and us who live here could have been created, but our existence alone does not prove that statement true. The fact that we are in such a unique situation, where that so many unique events, one after the other, were required for us to be here, is not necessarily because this specific situation is special for some reason unbeknownst to anyone. The Earth and its ecosystems, our star, the entire universe could have been all nice and cooked up to guarantee our existence. But then again, maybe they weren't. We simply don't know because it could have happened either way. And to be honest, in my opinion, this question is really just a trivial one. Whether or not the world sprung into existence from an inevitable throw of a die, or whether it was intended to come out a certain way, is ultimately irrelevant. Dreamed of or not, we are at least to some degree free to do what we want to do to ourselves and to each other. And what really matters in the short time that we're alive, seemingly devoid of purpose, is what we live, what we feel and experience. And most of all, the things that are special to us and allow us to find our own meaning. So, if something makes you feel happy and alive, chase it. Thanks for watching. Hello, Outro Orbin here. I finally finished my second official philosophical ramble. Yay! Firstly, thank you, Fantastic Fanty, for accepting your role as a literal god. Secondly, thank you to those who watched until the end of this essay. I should seriously ask someone to review my scripts next time so they're not as convoluted. And thirdly, sorry for taking so long. It just so happens that school and managing an animation channel don't exactly combine very well. I'll probably have to take a break next year, but worry not, because I'll still be active and possibly working on other stuff that doesn't take up as much time, like making music, or writing scripts, or even writing something else entirely, all of which will end up on my Tumblr. And that is all. Farewell, it's been a pleasure, and until next time.